Jetson, stop it, buddy. All right, the last part kind of takes what you've done here, so all these different strategies, and it connects it back to that parallel and perpendicular piece that we've been talking about in terms of geometry. So we're gonna review how to write equations of parallel and perpendicular lines. What I mean by that is, example 4 says, write an equation of the line that passes through -2, 3, and is parallel to the line y equals -4x plus 1. So instead of saying, here's my slope, here's my point, it's saying, here's the point, make it parallel to this line. Example 5 is very similar. It's saying, here's my point, make it perpendicular to this line. And you know the parallel and the perpendicular pieces are giving you the slope. You just have to use your knowledge to figure that out. So if I take a look at this problem, I have my point, so my x and y is -2 and 3. Parallel, hopefully you know that means the same slope. So I want the same slope as this equation. Well, here, my slope is -4. So if I want to be parallel to that slope, then the slope that I want to use is -4. And then it's up to me to use that slope, use the x and y, and solve for my equation. So I'm going to do this one using point slope, and I'll do the next one using slope intercept. So if I'm using point slope, I'm taking y minus y1, which is 3, equals my slope, -4, times x, be careful with signs, minus a -2 is a +2. So I end up with y minus 3 equals -4x minus 8. And if I take that last step to add 3 to both sides, I get y equals -4x minus 5 as my answer. One way to just make sure you did it right is you know that you put that same slope in, so your slope should end up being the same. And also you can plug this point back in and make sure that it's a solution. What I mean by that is put in 2, put in x, and you should end up getting 3 equals 3 or 10 equals 10. For example, if I put in y, I have 3 equals -4 times -2 minus 5. 8 minus 5 gives me 3, so I know that I'm right. All right, last one. The only difference here is now we're talking about perpendicular. So I want to write the equation of a line that passes through -2, 3, here's my x and y, and is perpendicular to the line y equals -4x plus 1. So again, my slope in this given equation is -4. So let's think, if the slope given is -4, what would be perpendicular to that? Think opposite reciprocal. So change my sign, it's going to be positive. Flip my fraction over, it's going to be 1/4. So the slope that I want to use is 1/4. So I'm going to show this example using slope-intercept form since I did the last one in point slope. But again, do whatever way you choose, and we should end up with the same answer at the end. So if I'm doing y equals mx plus b, my y is 3, my m is 1/4, my x is -2 plus b, and I need to solve for that b value. Finn and Jet, buddies, hey, relax please. If I simplify, I get 3 equals 1/4 times -2 is a -2/4, which is -1/2. If you're not good with fractions, you can always use your calculator. So I have 3 equals -1/2 plus b. And if I add 1/2, I get 3.5 equals b. And sometimes you will get decimals, and that's okay. So if I take that final step to write my equation, I get y equals m, we said is 1/4, x, plus our y-intercept is 3.5. Again, let's check our answer and make sure we're right. If I sub in -2 and 3, I get 3 equals 1/4 times -2 plus 3.5. And although it looks really complicated, I end up getting a -1/2 plus 3.5, that gives me an answer of 3, so I know that I'm right. And my answer is y equals 1/4 x plus 3.5. So even though this was brief and we only did one example of each kind, use this graph to help you on your practice. This may seem easy, and this should be easy because it's something you've learned a bunch before, but this is the part of the Chapter 3 test where people usually go wrong. They do great on the geometry part, but they just slack on the algebra part because they think they know how to do it and they don't. So if you just take your time in class today to get this practice done and feel good about this, you should be really good heading into the Chapter 3 test. So for your practice, I'd like you to practice the whole worksheet that I gave you. There's an extra problem in there that's a word problem for you to just try and see if you can apply it to a new situation. And there's some extra graphing practice, some more graphs that are just a little bit tricky, or maybe just the setup is a little tricky. So your goal today is to finish that entire worksheet.